This is Middle East Matters here on France 24. I'm Hala Mohyeddin. Coming up in today's programme, after another fierce assault on Aleppo, we meet these Syrian civilians struggling to survive the ongoing violence. Tensions are mounting in Jordan after the assassination of a prominent writer. And just why are Lebanese holidaymakers shunning their own beaches and heading overseas? We'll find out later in the show. But first, the US has accused Russia of barbarism, while NATO has called the Aleppo attacks blatant violations of international law. Well, Russia has slammed what it describes as unacceptable rhetoric from the West. But while the accusations fly in diplomatic circles, on the ground in Aleppo, talk is cheap. Phoebe Lanza-Wood reports now on the civilians enduring the worsening carnage in Syria's former economic hub.
The streets of Aleppo lie deserted, locals too afraid to leave their homes. Relentless airstrikes carried out by the Syrian regime and its Russian allies have wreaked havoc on rebel-held parts of the city. Around 250,000 residents have sought shelter from the jets since the latest ceasefire was ruptured. Hisham is one of them. He used to be a teacher, but since the airstrikes started, his life has been turned upside down. He says he has proof of the use of phosphorus bombs banned under international law.
This is the shell of a phosphorus bomb. You can see from the serial number that it was made in Russia. And if you look underneath, there are traces of white phosphorus. We don't have any water or electricity or gas for the generator. And to get internet access, we have to reconnect the cables after each bombing. It's very risky.
Amr is a 25-year-old student. He's taken refuge at this shelter, along with his family and neighbours.
Because of the bombings, we can't sleep upstairs. At the moment, there are 15 of us here, plus our children.
How old are you?
10.
Why don't you go to school?
Because of the airstrikes.
Are you scared of the bombings?
No.
Others have not been as lucky. Countless civilians lie buried beneath the rubble. Rescue workers have little to no access to the region. Those that have made it there have been targeted by bombs too. In the local hospitals, doctors are struggling to cope with the rising number of victims. Patients are now spilling out into the corridors. Though hard to believe, Aleppo was once the financial capital of Syria. 4 years after the city was divided between government control in the west and rebel control in the east, the city is a shadow of its former self.
Now, it's a murder that has stunned the nation and raised tensions between Jordan's Muslims and the powerful Christian minority. Nahid Hattar was arrested after sharing a cartoon online that was deemed offensive to Islam. However, he was gunned down on the steps of the courthouse where he was due to stand trial. With many in the country still coming to terms with this assassination, there are fears it could raise tensions between communities.
Crying their anger in the streets of Amman. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside the residence of Jordan's prime minister with posters of slain writer Nahid Hattar. They say he failed to protect the prominent Christian writer.
We are here to demand the resignation of the Prime Minister, who carries the responsibility for the killing of Nahid Hattar. The government has broken its duty to provide protection to this person, who had received so many threats over the past few weeks.
And this is where 56-year-old Nahid Hattar was shot dead, outside the courthouse where he was due to stand trial for sharing a cartoon deemed offensive to Islam on Facebook. It showed a jihadist smoking in bed with 2 women, asking Allah to bring him some wine and cashews. Hattar said he only meant to mock the jihadist vision of God in heaven. Regardless, the Prime Minister ordered his arrest and charged him with insulting Islam. His family says that decision is also what made him a target for Muslim extremists.
Nahid is a big mouth everywhere. He was speaking about the situation in Jordan and the situation in our neighbors there in Syria. That's why they killed him. That's why they killed him, because of that, and because he was speak loudly in Jordan, about everything wrong in Jordan.
The shooter was arrested at the scene, and local media have identified him as Riyad Abdullah, a former imam from a poor neighborhood in the eastern part of the capital. Attar has long been a controversial figure in Jordan. The anti-Islamist activist was a staunch supporter of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and an outspoken critic of the Islamic State group and al-Qaeda. While born a Christian, he considered himself an atheist. Many of Jordan's conservative Muslims saw Attar's work as deeply offensive. But such politically motivated assassinations are rare in the US-backed Arab kingdom, whose relative stability has distinguished it from war-torn neighbors such as Syria and Iraq.
Now, fans call it the jewel of the Mediterranean. And with 225 kilometres of coastline, Lebanon has long been touted as the ultimate holiday destination. Not, however, for the locals, with increasing numbers of Lebanese holidaymakers heading abroad for their summer sun.
On this beach in North Lebanon, beachgoers while away hours by the Mediterranean and enjoy quaint restaurants on the shore. Lebanon has a 220-kilometer coastline, but decent public beaches like this one are rare. The only other option, pricey private resorts.
Here we're saving at least $100 a day. When we go to a private resort, we pay $80 just to get in, then we pay another $80 for lunch. But here we're eating and drinking and having fun, all for $80 that we pay only once. So we're saving around $100.
Lebanon's coast suffers from severe water pollution, according to a 2012 report. Open dumping of solid trash is common, and the country has been rocked by a waste management crisis for the past year. Activists say the lack of clean, free beaches is unacceptable.
If you look at the whole country, you won't find a public beach in the usual sense of the term. It doesn't really exist here because the places that were supposed to have public beaches have sewage spillages.
As a result, many Lebanese prefer looking for summer fun abroad. This trend has prompted travel agencies to organize charter flights to attract clients with cheaper packages. Turkey's seaside resort of Marmaris, followed by Cyprus and Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh, have become top destinations.
I can take you to Marmaris for 5 or 7 days for only $440, depending on the hotel chosen. Even with a decent hotel, it's still less expensive than spending 2 or 3 days in a resort here.
Another deterrent for Lebanese, private developers gobbling up seafront for construction and restricting access to the coast. Just one more reason for them to forsake the beach.
It's time now for something a little bit different here on Middle East Matters. We're going to take a look at what's been making waves on social media across the region. And Julia Seeger is here with us to talk us through the trends. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
Julia. We're going to start off with a tweet from Lady Gaga. She's been calling on her followers to pray for Syrian refugees.
That's right. Lady Gaga retweeted a beautiful letter written by a young American boy that has since become viral. In this letter, 6-year-old Alex is asking President Obama to bring back Omran to the United States from Syria, saying that he could live with him in New York and that he would take care of him just as if he were his brother. Now, remember 5-year-old Omran Daknish. He's a young Syrian who became the face of the Syrian conflict after he was photographed in an ambulance following a bombing in Aleppo, and that was in August. Now, at the time, France 24 decided not to broadcast this picture, and today, once again, we've decided to blur his face, but everybody has seen it on social media. And now there's a video of Alex reading out his letter. Let's take a listen, Hala.
Dear President Obama, remember the boy who was picked up by the ambulance in Syria? Can you please go get him and bring him to our home? Catherine, my little sister, will be collecting butterflies and fireflies for him.
It was an incredibly moving video, Julie. In fact, so much so that the American president himself decided to use it in one of his speeches.
That's right. Barack Obama shared Alex's letter at a UN summit for refugees in New York last week as he was appealing for more compassion for refugees. And while he said that Alex is an example for all of us, he's a child who, I quote, has not learned to be cynical or suspicious or fearful of other people because of where they come from, how they look, and how they pray.
Well, let's move on from Syria to Saudi Arabia and a couple, a Saudi-American couple who are making headlines.
Absolutely. We could even say that they've become a viral couple. Abu Sin, a young man from Saudi Arabia, has literally become a star on the internet thanks to his online video chats with an American girl called Christina, videos they then posted on YouNow. In these videos, you see the two teenagers full of energy. They chat about their lives in the U.S. and in Riyadh. The couple says they started making these videos to help spread the love, and some of these chats are already a huge hit. They've been seen 1.5 million times on YouTube, and there's also episodes of their conversation on the video platform.
Well, it's lots of fans, of course, for the couple, but not just fans, unfortunately, who they've managed to draw attention from.
Saudi authorities caught on to the video success and have since arrested Abu Sin. But what I can tell you, Hala, is that Abu Sin has become a phenomenon in Saudi Arabia, as many YouTubers have created parodies of his chats.
Okay, well, let's move on from Saudi Arabia to the Turkish social media now, and another publicity stunt from the country's prime minister.
That's right. His name is Binali Yildirim. He became Turkey's prime minister last May, but before that he held the post of transport minister for over a decade and then communications minister in 2011. And he's the one who gave the green light for the Turkish government's censorship of the internet, which included bans on Twitter and YouTube. And what's ironic about this situation is that Yildirim loves to post videos of himself on social media. And in this YouTube video, you see him halting a car of newlyweds just to take a picture of them with their guests.
Goodness. So it's not the first time, really, that the Prime Minister has been using YouTube to have people talking about him, is it?
Absolutely. He tends to be very relaxed and lighthearted when he's in front of the camera. In this second video, for instance, he's attending an official ceremony for the police. And here you can see him acting as a middleman and passing on a wedding proposal from the soldier sitting next to him to his girlfriend through FaceTime.
He's certainly more media savvy and more social media savvy than perhaps others around him. Thanks for that, Julia Seeger, bringing us a look at social media across the region. This has been Middle East Matters. Do follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll see you again at the same time next week.